Hey everybody, I think we got it going here. Of course I can't tell. Hopefully you guys can hear me and let me know. Hey, Frosthaven scenario, no, we're not doing that. Was Jeff yesterday. So today I'm going to be working on some more Marvel United. I purchased a new airbrush that I had talked about. So I'm going to talk about that too. I tried it out. It's pretty cool and not terribly expensive. Scott's fine. He just is a little nauseous and not feeling great. So we were supposed to meet earlier today and he was unable to do that. But yeah, it's been a busy week. I think we had said on Tuesday that we hung out with my mom and my aunt this last weekend, which was fun. It was good to see my aunt. I hadn't seen her for probably coming up on 4 years, which is terrible. But as you can see, I kind of, well, let's cut to the, well, hope everybody's doing good. We were gonna originally play a game tonight, but that's happening next week. And then the thing that we were planning to do is being pushed back. So that won't happen till, I'm not even sure. Hopefully before we leave, because we are going to Texas once again at the end of, like the third week of, I believe, of March, and then we will be home for just over a week, and then we're going to head towards to go to the gathering. So hopefully that'll all be easy enough. But it's kind of rough being away. My mom, she's by herself, and I don't love to be gone for too terribly long, but it's just, this is the time of the year that it happens. So we have that, and then the gathering, and the BGG Con at the end of May, and then I think we get a break until the cruise, and then we go to Gen Con, and then we'll probably be doing Spiel again this year. We'll see how all that goes. But I hope everybody's doing something. I mean, I hope you're working on some minis. I will now let's go into the compressor and airbrush that I bought. So I've talked about this several times, and I decided to just go ahead and get it. There was a special on Amazon for $55. They had like a save 10 or 20%. I don't know. I think it's normally around $69, maybe a little bit less. It turns out it's actually pretty great. I had seen a video from Ninjon not a year ago when he first did it. I think I saw it a little bit later, but he had not responded. So I'm going to try to keep everybody up to date on this if you haven't bought one. But my pitch is, you buy one of these and not use spray cans. Number one, spray cans aren't just great, but additionally, they're awfully expensive. And you could probably, since this was $55, even at $69, I think it's still a great deal because you get this airbrush, you get the compressor, you get this hose, which is great because that means you don't have to, I'll show you how it all connects. But you can use this instead of just connecting it directly to that. It gives you some tools. To clean it, it gives you a wrench to pull the nozzle off, a little eyedropper that's not so great, but it's good to have something. And then these additional larger sized reservoirs. This is the one that's on it when you buy it. These large ones are great. They're huge. I mean, if you're doing a lot of stuff, it's probably worth it. The issue is, of course, I don't think this is gonna, they claim 69 minutes, which I believe, hey Gator Dave, I do believe that it will be, it'll live up to the length that they were saying, because I think I got it to 75% before I before I was done, and then I recharged it. Now it's not has a gauge to tell you what percentage it's at, and I don't know how accurate that is, but it's pretty reasonable. But the way this works is you just thread this to the compressor. I actually rotate it so the switch is on the outside, and then I can look down and see the compressors. Now, again, it has not run out for me yet. But you have to tighten it, and you can't turn it, I guess. I don't know. There's all kinds of like little warnings, but I understand. I don't want to break it. I kind of think this is something I should give Scott so that he'll do some of the, because you know he doesn't need a big compressor. He only needs to. Now he did that whole batch of stuff with the spray cans all at once. But you turn it on, it'll give you a little burst of air, but it shuts off. Let me take that off. That would be bad. Well, it wouldn't be bad. It just wouldn't work well. It would actually stop it. So that's the thing. It turns off, and it goes on as you use it. It does a really good job. I mean, it's pretty solid. It did not get hot. The one thing I will say is I don't think there's any way to adjust the air pressure. It's already pretty low, but in my experience this weekend. Well, actually, no, it was the other day. I primed 5 villains, and they were good. I mean, it went well. Initially, I thought they were... Now, it was cold, for us anyway. I was doing it outside. I do have a spray booth that I would probably try to use. So it is a little bit... slower to respond, Gator Dave, when it's on the hose. In other words, which is fine because I felt like it was instantly going, but a little bit less quick to stop. The good thing is when it stops, it's going to help keep your battery going. This was the one mini that was weird. You could probably see, I just got a notification for something. That's probably in my email. It is my friend Brian. Anyway, let me turn that off so I don't hear it on there. He's asking if he should upgrade to Windows 11. I think he should. Let me message him there. Anyway, he has a knack for chatting with me when I am streaming. I don't know, when Nikki and I are streaming, he'll chat. It's pretty hilarious. I think Windows 11's been fine. I wish that it wasn't so... I don't know. I wish it wasn't so stringent with its requirements. Anyway, so... The hose is great. The nice thing is you can actually just, I did do that. I coiled it back up, but it's actually a pretty good hose. But I will go over some of the things that are potentially an issue with it. Like, ultimately, I feel if you got one of these, at some point I feel you should go the next level. But for an inexpensive amount, you can see, let me make sure that's not on. It is on. For an inexpensive amount, you can see if you like doing this. And I think it's useful. I mean, as I said, I've had an airbrush forever. I will go over like some modern airbrushes that I have. So this one has like a special connector. It's just a double connector, right? It's male on both sides. That lets you hook it up to the compressor. So that you can do it, and you'll see how it works here once I get it going on. Like as far as it's a little bit of slack. I already am using it up for that. I just, as I said, I painted these 5 yesterday, maybe? I can't remember now. So the compressor's on, went for a little bit. So it's just a bit of a delay, right? I don't think it's a big deal at all. And it recharges pretty quickly. It said an hour and a half. I was down, geez, I don't even think I was down to 50%. I was below 75, but not to 50 after airbrushing. And I did some more today, and I'll go over that in a minute. But it does a good job. Now, here's the thing. You can't adjust the pressure, but the level that it's at is pretty good. It claims 30 to 35 or 30 to 32, which is high for most uses. For me anyway. I don't know how everybody else works, but I actually like it to be a little bit lower. The one thing that I had that was concerning, because I used this specific airbrush yesterday, I mean, this is great. It comes off. You can help to help clean it up. The reservoir has a screw top on it on this one, which some people may not like, but I actually did because I was very quick to clean it, and you could always do it with alcohol. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Did that earlier at the very beginning of the stream. Actually, when I just turned it on, I still had the mic unmuted too. Yeah, unmuted. Anyway, so it wasn't a big deal to me. I imagine maybe it could be a problem, but if you are messy. But here's the deal: I didn't get any paint in the threads. I didn't fill it up completely at all. I generally don't. The Ninjon had a problem with the reservoir, saying that it would be less likely to empty because of the shape of it. But I got to tell you, it did not have a problem. And it's a small hole on there, but it was plenty of paint. I actually was blown away at how quickly the paint went out of the airbrush on the first go. Now, I generally work with less paint, but it was really spraying. So it does a really good job. It did a great job on the black. When I came back to this one last night, you know, I was doing it outside, and it was a little bright. I was trying to do it before the rain. So I came back out and sprayed it black today, and then went back and did the gray and some white, just so that it was a better coverage, because there was a lot of the red coming through. The rest of them were all pretty good. Hella turned out pretty great. We'll see how she looks. And I need to get some glasses I can actually see with here, up close-ish. I tried cleaning them. I spent a lot of time, and of course, every time I see all these things that I didn't notice previously, I might fix it. I don't know. They all look pretty good. I mean, it's essentially identical to everything else that I do. You know, using a multitude of compressors. I actually have 3 compressors, one little Iwata and goodness, I can't remember the brand. One that I had bought, because I have a large scale compressor too. But I thought it did a great job, because here's the deal: it was super mobile. I left it on the body of the compressor, and it was great because I was standing there. I might as well show you, because I don't think I ever have it here. This is the older version of it. I don't have the handle actually attached to it. This is the Citadel paint stick, and you put rubber bands on, and then you mount, as you can see here with the pink on there, you mount it between the 2 rubber bands, and it does a pretty great job for you to hold it and tilt it. And so I try really hard. You can see there's some pink underneath there that red that I didn't quite get completely, but it'll be fine. This one was really bad. I mean, I couldn't tell until I was inside with full light, like I was cleaning the airbrush in the bathroom. But I use this, and it allows me to, there's a handle, pistol grip kind of handle, and it allows me to just, like, I can tilt it at all kinds of angles. I've almost never had them fall off. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever had them fall off unless I did a poor job mounting it. And I just was able to do really a bunch of stuff. It took me I mean, it was way quick to spray the black. Of course, as I said, I missed some on here, and they're still a little bit visible. But it was very quick coverage. Maybe because it might be a little stronger than I normally run the compressor at PSA wise. But I was able to do these pretty quickly. I thought it did a great job, and the airbrush is solid. It does a good job. It didn't sputter. It didn't splatter. It did a little bit. On this one, it was a little more granular than I am used to, but that's not really hey, where the heck is I mean, the reality is they they all have a little bit of spatter. I mean, it's atomizing the paint. But this one looked kind of, now again, it was cold, so that could be part of the issue. I was outdoors. I should have tried to do it inside where it was warmer. Hey, look at that kind of bit there. But it's fine, right? I don't think it's a big deal. Ultimately, it looks almost identical to the other ones that I'd done when I was finished. Dormammu looked pretty cool. So, fantastic way to do it. You're not using you're not using spray cans, and you have way more control. I was able to do things like focus a little bit on the face here. I don't know if this is Corvus Glaive, I can't remember. But it's a great option, and it's relatively inexpensive, and it will pay for itself. Even if it doesn't last forever, it will pay for itself pretty darn quickly, and I'm sure it'll last longer than that. Here's the problems. Cleaning it is hard. Now, I will admit, because I read their instructions. Their instructions were bubble it. Well, I'll talk to you about in a minute. Bubble it, which means you hold the tip and then you let the air come out. That was interesting, more air still in there. And it will bubble into the tank here and pull paint out of the reservoir inside the body, which is pretty small. And it did a great job, as a matter of fact. It really did clean it just fine. The best way to do it, though, is you just keep putting water through it till it's clear. So you bubble it, like I drain the cup, then I rinse the cup as much as I can, then I start putting relatively clear water through it, and then I keep doing that. Seems like the music's loud. Let me know if the music's loud. It is Corvus Glaive. Okay, and so it does clean up that very well, and then I could take it off, and I was putting a brush into the body of the airbrush to clean it out a little bit. And then the way they suggested is that you can do that bubbling. You have to do that every time, plus if you're changing colors, which I always do. And then every so often you pull the needle out. And so the way to pull the needle out, which is, and it's tough, man, I got to tell you, the Teflon bearing or whatever in this is pretty solid. So I can't even get it out very easily. And I got to tell, I was shocked that you could actually even use it, you know. There you go, it's getting tight again. Funny, I don't know. This is one thing I never seem to get right. Okay, there we go. But you pull the needle out of the body. Wow, this is ridiculously hard to get out. Let me see, I don't want to use any tools to do it, because the needles are very easy to bend. There we go. And so then you clean it off, which I did not do. Well, no, I did. I think I took it apart and cleaned it. So I'm the kind of guy that will clean it every time. I'll clean the needle, everything, because I try to do a bunch at once so that I'm not doing a little bit of stuff. Now, one of the ways many people do deal with this is you don't let it dry out. You put it in a cup of water, and you let it soak in that, and then when you use it, I mean, that's what Adam Smasher does. He has a tank plus a ultrasonic cleaner, which I have as well, but I don't clean my airbrush in it too much. But it's easy enough to get that out. You can pull the whole assembly, the trigger assembly here that has a spring in it and stuff out if you needed to. The reality is, though, there shouldn't be any paint in here. The issue is, of course, you pull the needle out this way because, you know, it has a bearing up here that will help pull off the paint, but it still can get in all over the place if you're not cautious. So I don't pull the needle out until it is as clear as possible from bubbling it. And then I wipe it down, and I'll do that. Now, the next thing is, this is a modern style airbrush, at least from my knowledge. So it has this small, let me zoom in on it if I can. It has a small, I mean, the old Badger I have has the same kind of thing. But it has this small needle head here that's inside. Wow, look at that. See I actually pulled, oh, this is a 2, I think. I actually swapped it out. Let's see here, I'll show you. You have this little tiny wrench to pull it out. It's one thing I'm not sure. I need to look at my other airbrushes. I don't break them down like this because it's not, I don't need to for the ones I use normally. But, gosh, I'm not getting in the shot. So anyway, this is the little wrench to take this off. You need to take this off, in my opinion, every so often to really clean it out. And that way the needle can be pulled through the front of the body. And again, this isn't really a big deal because this is how they work. This part here, you could actually run the airbrush without this front guard. But this front part here has the needle coming through with that needle tip poking out a little bit as well. And then, wow, I think I have this on too tight. Is one of the things I don't really have figured out on these, because I don't use this style as much, and I have the exact same problem. I feel most of these are probably made by the same company in China, or they're just borrowing each other's designs. See, I don't think I have it. No, I pulled the needle out. That could be part of the issue. You're supposed to, like, when you pull it apart, use lubricant. They do not give you any lubricant. Then this part back here helps you restrict how far you pull the trigger back. So if you don't want it to go full paint, you just screw this in, you tighten it up and screw it in. Now, the one thing I said about the previous airbrush that I showed, which I guess I'll show that, it's not here. It's very similar to this. Was it had a 4-pointed needle guard here at the front, and I would, when I put my finger, I'd have to use a very wet towel to get it to do the back bubble, because I couldn't take it off because I kept stabbing myself with the needle. It's very, very tiny, but this one came with this cup one, and it turns out the one that I was saying, oh, it's a bummer. When I looked into it, let's see, where did I put it all? Wow, I don't see it. It's got to be here somewhere. Wow, that is funny. I had everything all organized. I brought everything in today, but I don't see that. Anyway, it's here. It has one feature that I think that is better than this one, in that you can adjust the pressure. There's a screw that's mounted underneath here that will constrict how much air goes through it. So if you needed to do that, you could do that. Now again, I didn't feel like I really needed it. This airbrush did a great job with it. Ultimately, I just need to make sure that it's, I don't know what, this one bothered me, that I kept seeing all that speckling, right? It was like, why? But it's really not that bad. It's much better than a spray can, and these did not have that problem like that. So at least any different than I normally get. So I'm not really certain what that is. And it probably could be the cold. I did them both times I sprayed were kind of near the end of the day, which is the worst here at this time of the year. Wow, I really do want to find that other airbrush. That's funny. What did I do here? Harumph, I say. Let me take a peek. Should be right here. Everything came in together. Let me look. I'll disconnect myself from hearing here, but you can hear me. Goodness gracious, what did I do? Oh, here it is. I closed it up. So this one was recommended by Barbarous Rex. He's an older guy that reviews stuff on YouTube, and he had talked about this airbrush, and it was a $40 airbrush. I don't know how easy it is to get parts, but I will tell you now the reason why I actually changed this to a different needle. This is a 0.2, which means, finer needle to do more, maybe thinner paints. This one here came with extra needles. So let me zoom back out. I think I didn't block it. So this one actually came with, this one was already a 0.3. But yeah, I had said, oh, it has that pointy front end, the crown essentially, but but it had one of these in the kit. So the one that was in it, that was on it when I bought it, I just took it off. So it's the one thing I disliked about this airbrush. It's very similar. This is the one change where you could adjust the pressure. So if it's completely in, there will be no air coming through. So you can't really see, you don't see anywhere actual pressure gauge if you're concerned about that kind of stuff. I generally do it by feel anyway, even though I have, all of my compressors have pressure gauges to show you what it's doing. But I often use my, my Iwata compressor, and that has a pressure gauge on it, but I don't use it that often. So this was a $40 airbrush. It has a lot of parts. It comes with the larger reservoirs, comes with more O-rings and Teflon bearing for the PTFE or whatever it is, bearing that you put it. Now I would have no idea how to get that inside of the body because it doesn't come apart like the ones I'm used to. It comes with a water trap, which I could potentially use on this airbrush. I mean, I think it would probably lower the pressure a tiny bit. It definitely, this is a good feature here. This is a quick connect. So you pull it out and you put this on the airbrush, and it will, you can just quickly snap it on a different airbrush. I need to actually get this size of connector because all of these will use this size of connector. Which is the common one. This is what most every airbrush uses. But it's nice because you can just pop it off, switch to another airbrush, so you can switch colors easily. And it's nice that they actually give you that in the kit. But again, it's the only one I have that is this size. And you'll find out the reason why about that in a second. But I do love the quick connects. It's not probably the best one, but it doesn't seem to be too bad. I used it once. It has same kinds of stuff. It's got a ream that is a flat, it's like the shape of the needle, but it's flat on one side so you can ream out paint. Great. This is so annoying. So it's got a lot of tools. It comes with two additional sized heads of 0.5 and a 0.2. And needles, which you need, different size needles. So that's cool, and the reason why I swapped it out because I just wanted to see how easy it was and if the parts would work, because here's the deal, they give you no extra parts. They do give you the wrench to take the needle tip out, but let's see what they actually call it in here. 3 nozzle, there you go. So it's the nozzle. They do give you some parts, you know, they give you stuff to actually clean it and things like that. But if you wanted to replace it, I don't know where you'd get them, right? You'd have to buy another airbrush, sort of like what I did here with these. And I'm not a huge fan of the rubber bearings, the O-rings, but you know, it's common, and you'll see why here in a moment. Much more common than what I'm used to, at least from, you know, my history of using an airbrush. I'm having a great evening, Matthew Rose. This is a cool kit. I mean, having the little compressor is great. It's very simple. It's super easy to care for the compressor. You just have to charge it. There is no lubricating it or anything. It seems pretty solid as far as it doesn't pulse. Like I only did a little bit, but I didn't do any super fine detail. But it did not have any pulsing in it, so that I was able to get relatively fine lines. Now, I don't paint like that normally, but it is kind of important if you want to like focus your what you're painting. And the reason why I switched to the smaller needle was specifically so that I could do more like detail into the faces to lighten them up, because I don't want to. You know, I want the faces to be the focus, but I don't want to put too much brightness all over the place. Now, I didn't spray these with that. I did this after when I cleaned up. I was like, huh, okay, it uses exactly the same thing. The parts are absolutely interchangeable between these two airbrushes, even though they're from theoretically different manufacturers. I don't know that, like, these parts are not going to interchange, But the needles, the nozzle, all of this external stuff here will, what is this, needle cap, I guess what they're calling it? And that is essentially what protects it. And then the nozzle cap. Okay, so the nozzle, then these bits. So let's look at some of the other ones I have. These are great though, and I feel they do a good job, and you would be fine if you were going to get one of these and try to use it specifically to prime, right? You could do more stuff with it, but you don't have, you would probably want to get a slightly better one eventually. Now, I think keeping it in water or a solution that has a cleaner in it, I use Iwata's, I use this here, used it for a long time. I mean, this is a big bottle. I don't even think I can find 16-ounce bottles anymore. So I've used it for a long time, but you don't go through it fast. I did get when I bought an Iwata a while back, I got another small bottle of it. So this is similar. So I showed you one last week that was, I said was my original airbrush. That was incorrect. This is my original airbrush. I have a newer trigger on it that I was, when I visited and this has got a quick connect on it. When I visited the Badger booth, the main guy there, the Badger guy, was very sweet and gave me a couple of the triggers, because the neat thing about the tall triggers is a smaller amount of movement. I mean, you get to move more to have this a small amount of paint coming out of the airbrush. With the shorter triggers, you pull more. Your movements are a little bit more extreme. So I swapped that out. But otherwise, like I said last week, this was originally a plastic one. But I've taken this apart. This has a different kind of thing here now. The needle is much easier to pull out. You have to be careful. It's a little easier once you pull this out, for the trigger to fall out. And then there's this pullback stuff here that actually does the spring-loaded stuff. And I've had that fall apart, and it's kind of tough to get in there. I usually put it on a needle that I've damaged, which tells you something. And then I drop it in with the trigger, then push this in. Because this screws out. This is the assembly that has the spring inside of it. This is contained inside this. This is an old one. This is an airbrush from 40 years ago. And my parents gave it to me, and I have used it forever and taken good care of it. I have messed up things. I've dropped it and stuff like that, but I was able to buy parts, which is something I can't say you can do with the other one. So this one has the quick connect on it as well. Let's see if it works here. It does. So it's obviously using a standardized size. Now, you'll notice something though, right? This has a smaller connector. So the Badgers are like the outliers here. They use a smaller connection than just about every other one I've ever seen. Wow, that's not threading back on. One thing I've noticed when I have a problem with threading, I go backwards until I hear the thread pop. Then it means that I have, it should be ready to thread. Of course, I just did that and it didn't do it. Throwing it around too. This one's been beat up. I mean, I haven't replaced you could replace everything, but like I had to use a wrench to pull this off at one, like pliers that had a knurl to them, and it kind of chewed it up. Wow, this is not going on. What did I do wrong here? This is actually a Grex connector here that I have. Wow, what did I do wrong here? I'm hearing it pop too. Anyway, I'll do that later. I don't want to strip this because it's very fine threads. So this one, let's go to the front part. The reason why I really like these, and this is not a popular airbrush, let's zoom back in. Hey, time roller. This has always been an easier one for me to clean. Trent, that's what I'm using that's what I'm talking about right now. It's not really part of the airbrush, but it is. This is a tiny compressor that's rechargeable, and it's pretty great. That's what I decided to try one out because I have tons of compressors. And this one I actually have it so it has a hose that you can connect to between the airbrush and the compressor, but you can also just directly connect it to the compressor. It works pretty great. So repair, like cleaning the airbrushes up. This one here, this all comes off. And you will see that there is no nozzle. The body of the airbrush has the hole, and so I can clean this all out. It's a little more challenging, right? Because it doesn't have any openings, but usually I will do like a paper towel and I'll roll it up and clean it out. But I'll do the whole backflow stuff before I do this. Then you have this, which has the nozzle on it. So it's similar to those other ones. I don't know if it's threaded to pull off. It has to be, I imagine, but I don't see how that works. And then, you know, if you were to take this off, you would need to put beeswax on it to prevent it from leaking. I feel like I got paint or something's happened here to this. Again, this one's old. This nozzle's probably 30 years old. But they do sell these parts. And so it's easier to clean because I can get in without taking this small part off, which is really, I feel like it'd be very easy to drop or misplace. And then this, you just clean this part out, right? This is the base. Now, this needs to be on it because this is where the air mixes with the paint. I really feel like I did not clean this well the last time. It's been a little while since I used it. But I like the way it cleans. People don't, you know, they kind of laugh about these airbrushes because they're old. It's probably a design from the 70s. This is a Badger 150. And I have 100s, which are smaller with a cup, integrated cup or a side cup. I mean, I've got too many airbrushes. This one here is, I don't even think, you can still get them at Harbor Freight. They're $20. This one works similarly. So it's kind of like a hybrid between the first ones I showed you and the Badger, in that it has the same thing. It comes off like that, but the nozzle easily comes off and can go back on because it's mounted to this one. So you can see I dropped this, like right away I dropped it. Broke it, but it still works. And I still have to, you know, I have to do the back pressure, I have to like curl my finger over it. So yeah, it has a similar mounting to the other one, so it might even be exactly the same. Now, you can't get parts for these either. This is the only one you can get. Now, I've used this one to do priming many times because I'm like, if I mess this one up, I don't care. But I do. It's kind of a bummer. And it's a gravity feed. I mean, it's a siphon feed, right? Siphon feed is seems to be perfectly fine, but it's weird. Like, many of the parts on this can be used between the Badger and stuff. This has the ability to, like, you can pull the needle back and stuff like that. This is what a lot of these modern ones do. You can also do that here, but you can also just adjust the needle so that so that you can have it like a certain amount of paint coming out of the airbrush, no problem. Pipe cleaners do work for things, for sure. I mean, that's what these are that they give you to clean. I mean, I do have pipe cleaners that I use to clean this stuff out. And it does a pretty good job. It'll get small enough inside, but I'm just like a paper towel guy, because what I do is I take, when I get a paper towel, I split it, right? So they're 2-ply or something like that. I split it. This is when I'm doing a serious cleaning. Now again, I tend to clean pretty well, although as we saw in that one, I didn't do that great. And then I roll this into a point. Heck, it might even be able to go one more time. No, this is it. And it goes into a point, and it gets very fine, and then I can get into the end of that nozzle and clean it out. If I have the time, I will generally do that. So that was this one that actually kind of really steals a lot of the design from the Badger. But you notice, once again, it has this larger, is it 3/8? I don't know, connector, and this is like an 1/8. Now, I like the smaller one because it's not in the way, but everything I have now has that stuff. And you can use all of these airbrushes on this compressor. So like, you could get one of these compressors and then go to the next step, with a different, you know, a second airbrush. So the Iwata, excuse me, this is, I don't know, this is my first Iwata. I've had it for a while now. It has the same kind of thing with the nozzle as these others. So it has the nozzle in there, it's mounted the same way. So this part is what they've stolen on these two, this one and this one. It's almost identical. This seems like, I've never taken this apart, I've only ever done the cleaning. This has an integrated, is it threaded? Pulled this off before, I know it's friction. Has an integrated cup. So you can't pull it off to clean it. You have to do it all within the body. People love Iwatas. This is a very nice airbrush. I've used it plenty, kept good care of it. But I've used it plenty when I'm doing things that I need detail. Although I have other airbrushes to do that as well. I just wanted to try an Iwata because this was like the other one in the time frame. It has this similar stuff. It doesn't have a stop, which is interesting. Doesn't have a stop for the needle so that you can restrict the paint flow. But I mean, these all look very similar. And again, this one has the same type of connect. Thanks, Matthew, for the support. Yeah, I'm ridiculous though. I've always loved airbrushes and I bought them for years. And my parents really got me going on it. But you notice this has like this part here. It looks like it'll come off. So you could theoretically do I haven't done it yet. There's been no need, but I should. You can wrench this off, and then you could probably do like the Badger, right? So that you can easily clean it without having to remove the nozzle. Because I think that's kind of hard to do. It's very, very small. Like when I was doing it to swap between the 3mm and the 2mm on this one, I almost lost the nozzle, and it's just too easy. And not being able to buy a replacement part, if it's exactly the same as this one, then maybe you can get parts and it won't be a big deal. But you never know with the threading, right? And that's the downer about this airbrush, because it's a pretty good airbrush. I actually tried to buy a second one recently, and the local Harbor Freight said they had it, but this is on closeout. They have a newer one that is more like these. Then you have, let's see here. You have this Badger. This is one of the Badgers I've gotten. So I ended up kind of going on a little crazy spree probably 4 or 5 years ago where they were having a sale because Badger had been around for 54 years or something like that, or 52 or something like that, and they were selling airbrushes for that price. You were getting just the airbrush, none of the extra accessories or anything like that. But this one has a nozzle very similar to the old one, plus sort of like the Iwata. So it's not too hard to clean. It's just got this one little bit here to protect the needle. It's like a fork here, so you won't stab yourself on it. The needle's always going to be peeking through. This one actually has an adjustment on the end, which is cool. But yeah, you kind of need that little bit to protect your finger. I don't know. I mean, again, it's very, very fine. It doesn't really... I just stabbed myself enough that I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Then Badger has another style, which is probably my favorite for cleaning. This is an Anthem. Anthem is very much... So this is a 155. This was a 150. I don't know when these were started making these, but it has a different style that borrows from another airbrush I have from Badger called the Crescendo. And you notice this is using those O-rings. So all this can come, see, it's got a bunch of ports for the air to go in to integrate to be able to atomize the paint. All of this is just, there is no, you just got to clean it out. There's no parts that come apart beyond that. Although, I mean, this is brass. I mean, the whole thing's probably brass, but then it's plated, but that's a separate piece. But as long as you take care of it, it's not an issue. But the thing that's great about these style airbrushes, as I said, the Crescendo was the first one I saw that did it. If I can get it off. Goodness gracious. So there you go. This is the nozzle. It's just a conical piece of metal, double conical, right? And it's very simple to clean. Now, it's potentially easy to lose too, but it's not as tiny as those other ones. And the needle just, you know, can easily come out the front direction so that you're not pulling paint through the body. So I would say if you're going to buy a regular airbrush, and maybe when those sales I think take place in March, if Badger does it, you need to pay attention to their Facebook group. You write them and then you pay, and then they deliver them as they can, because a lot of people buy them. Lance Meixter was frustrated with me that I didn't tell him. I'm like, I didn't know you need an airbrush. So I let him know when they went on sale again. I really like Badgers. I think, you know, they get, you know, I don't know. A lot of people use them. They've been used for forever, but notice this needle comes out the front too. So it does kind of worry me, but you can pull it back and then let it bubble. Now this is gravity feed as well. I mean siphon feed. Siphon feed's okay. I mean, it does a great job, but there is no cup to protect it. It uses the same, this is the cup off the Harbor Freight one, Central Pneumatic. So it's the same cup, it's the same hardware, essentially. So there are other versions of this one that I think have gravity feed. Let me look. I have a lot of them. But gravity feed's nice because you don't have to monkey with it. Let's see here. I think I pulled all these out though. I don't think any of them had that kind of needle. This is a Extreme Patriot. I have only ever used this one. I used all of them once. Now this has a piece that comes off. But the needle's exposed. There is no guard. So you gotta be cautious. These are brass as well. Oh no, here you go. This is one that has it as well. So this is Extreme Patriot. It has the same connection, same nozzle thing. So I feel this is probably a pretty great brush all the way around too, because notice it has, hey, I just stabbed myself. It has the adjustment at the bottom, same thing that lets you adjust the air, I believe, to restrict it so that you could control the pressure without having a pressure gauge on your compressor. But you know, these are expensive. These are 120, 125, 30, 40, 50, 150. You can get them for in the 50s while their anniversary is still in the 50s. But yeah, this one's pretty great. It has a little bit of plastic here that is to give it, you know, to make it easier to hold. I don't know how, it's not straight, it's bent. The Renegade has the same issue here. But I like that needle for cleaning. It's just, it seems to be a better choice. Let's see what this one was. Oh yeah, this is the one that has the standard needle nozzle. It does have like a graduated, gosh, focus on it here, adjustment so that you can always come back to a specific position if you're, you know, if you're cleaning it and then you want to make sure you have it for the same control on the back end. This just has a friction fit lid, but it is integrated into the body. You can see it's got quite a big throat in there, and it feeds into the, and you can see the needle down in there. These are all pretty great. So you don't have to go crazy. I feel initially you should buy something like this one. As I said, this runs at most $69. It was on sale last week for $55 with a coupon, right? Coupon clip that you do in the program in Amazon. So you can go crazy if you want and get more. I wouldn't, you know, I don't think you really need to go too crazy. But again, this one probably, I can't remember for sure. I'm pretty certain that's what this does. It does the same thing where it cuts the air off. I don't think it cuts off the paint. No, it doesn't. So you could control it like I was saying with this one, that this one does. This one's a much nicer mechanism. This is just a piece of nylon or plastic, threaded nylon connector. But again, doesn't have any protection from the needle. For a beginner, you probably want to have all of that stuff, especially so you get comfortable. And then if you get more into it, you can go crazier. Now, if you're only priming, then who cares? You don't really need to go crazy. You could just buy another inexpensive brush. As I said, the one that was in this kit here was $40, you know, with a lot of extra parts. Extra needles, which is great, especially since you can't buy any parts for these things anyway, for sure. Now, there might be sources out there, and there's lots of different airbrushes out there. As I was saying, Grex, they're actually nice airbrushes. They have pistol airbrushes. I don't have anything like that. I think about it all the time. But yeah, they make nice, a better, I don't know. I mean, this one's actually pretty fast. I don't feel the Grex is quite this fast to connect and disconnect, but it's very similar. And it's definitely, you know, it's made very nicely, but this is pretty cool too. So there's all the different things you can do that you can do to like be able to make it so it's a little easier to use your airbrush. And I honestly feel this is a pretty great deal for the money. The issue is you must be cautious with it. You will not be able to get parts easily for it. They give you no extra parts. I do wish that this one actually just gave us an extra needle for this size, the 3, that is what it comes with. They give you 2, a 3, and it's fitted with a 3, and then the 5. 5 is for thicker paint, 0.5, right? But it's not that big of a deal, especially since I bought this whole kit for $40, and I bought this for $55 with the compressor. And the compressors, I mean, again, it's great. It's just, so it goes a little bit, so it's a little slow to turn off, but I mean, there is no pulsing. It's amazing how good this compressor motor is. I don't know the life of the battery or anything like that, but again, I also feel like eventually you could move to something a little bit more advanced if you like it. I mean, I'm not an airbrush artist, although I have, when I was in high school and college, I did do airbrush art. That was what my parents got me this, and I was very excited about it. And I used it, and I became the airbrush guy for everybody where they needed something done with an airbrush, and so I would do it. So there you go, that's that. This is the whole, let me zoom back out so you can see a bit of it here. That's the whole deal with this. So this kit, Matthew, I got on Amazon, and it's YFU or UFU, I don't know. There are other ones out there that were actually as little as $30. The reason why I specifically bought this one was I watched at least 6 months ago, probably more like 8 or 9 months ago, I watched Ninjon talk about one of these, and I was like, wow, because he actually discovered that his compressor was bad. The compressor he had been using for several years was bad because it was pulsing, and this one did a better job. Now, I'm sure he bought a better compressor, but this is a nice, he was doing basically the same thing I'm doing, which is you should get something like this instead of using spray cans. That's if you want to take the next step up, right? You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can just, you can do all this with painting by hand or with spray cans, but I would really prefer, I mean, I just think that you're going to get better results if you do it with an airbrush. But you can do like I did on one of them, which was, you know, paint the entire thing black and then just dry brush the highlights, the zenithal highlights, focusing on the top and pulling down. It works perfectly fine. I've done it. I actually probably will try to do something that way, and I did it on the stream. I don't think that stream's saved. Oh no, it is. It's the Jurassic World ones. So I did one. I did the dinosaur from Jurassic World 3. That method. So I started on the beginning of the episode, it was black, and then I painted it, dry brushed it to give it the highlights. It wasn't as intense. I was also going in a rush because I wanted to try to finish the paint job before the end of the stream. So I would generally put a little bit more highlights on it, but I actually really liked how that turned out because I do remember that scene. It was like probably one of the better scenes of that movie. That was in the dark and stuff like that, and but it looked great because it looked like the wave kind of to me, you know, the Japanese print, block print. But yeah, I think that I think it's worth it. I think it's a great way to avoid, I mean, the waste of spray cans is just terrible, right? They're using a propellant that's not nasty, like at least they tell us it's not nasty, like it used to be. But I don't know, it feels like it's a better choice. And you're gonna save money. Because the paint, I have the same, as a matter of fact, I can show you right now. So I had a problem with this bottle when I got it. They've changed the size of the bottle. I'll show you two here. This bottle I bought, and I have primed a couple hundred minis probably with this. This is Stynylrez Res. This is Badger's. You can see it needs to be shaked, and but I've used about this much of the paint so far. This is a 16-ounce bottle. It's gonna last me forever. I'm crazy. I should have bought the smaller. I did buy smaller bottles following up with additional ones. These are 8, I think, ounces. And no, these are 4. So this is a red-brown primer. There's some with metallic, like they have a copper, a gold, a metal, so that you can have a different starting base color. I think I'm going to go for something like that I kind of want to try to paint Iron Man, but I've got a bunch of Iron Man-ish characters in all the stuff that's coming, so I don't necessarily have to. But this, as a matter of fact, this looks like it's getting stretched. This was off another bottle. This had, in shipping, it had jarred and it broke this lid like this. And you can see it's so thin, it just spills all over the place. So I used another flip top one from like maybe one of those craft paints from Michaels or Joanne, and it works, thank goodness, but it sucked because the reason why it didn't spill, this broke. There's a cap when you buy these inside here, and it kept it sealed. So thankfully it didn't just show up as a mess. They do have issues where you don't want this stuff to freeze. And I thankfully didn't have that problem. Of course, I did order it during the winter, I think, and it shipped from Chicago, so I don't remember what the deal is. So it may be just that it's exposed. But yeah, this white I've used about probably less than a half an inch of it in all the time that I've been doing zenithal highlighting. I use this. I do have, a lot of people like to use inks, and I have inks. Let's see here. I've used it, De La Rowney. I think it's good. I don't think it's the greatest. I think the Airbrush does a good job, and it's less slick. I mean, with the primers. Let's see here. This belongs to the one, and I couldn't get it back on. Let's see if I can do it. This is very weird. It's weird too because it was actually going on. Then I was like, "Oh, let me show you something." Oh, hey, no, don't let me show you something. Wow, that's a bummer. I wonder if I've slightly stripped. I mean, look how fine those threads are. It's very fine. And it's all like that. Well, shucks. I'll put this on another airbrush and see how it goes. I actually have that problem with the one that came in the kit. Like it wouldn't connect to one of the, actually it wouldn't connect to the one that came with the compressor. It would not thread on, and I could not figure out what was going on. Why am I looking for airbrushes? They're right here. Yeah, it's not going on. I think I might have stripped it. Okay, well, shucks. How would I have done that? Try another one. Yeah, it's so strange. I must have cross-threaded it. That's a bummer. But they're very fine. Like you don't want to do, and I don't want to force it on. It's not worth it. This is like $10 or something compared to the airbrush. Very weird. Well, I'll try it and see. I don't think that's right though. No, I can't get it off. Did I really cross-thread it? Who knows? Well, actually, I should try one of the other ones I have up above. I have to get into it. But there you go. It's a lot of airbrushes. There's a lot you can Wow, I never really realized how much that needle comes out the front there. But I've used the bubble spray method. It works fine with the siphon feed as well. The nice thing about the siphon feed, I feel like I can get the paint out of it because I can just pull it off the bottom. If you pull it off the top on these other, like these here, because this one actually comes off as well, you make a mess, right? The paint, well, you can't do it until it's clean. With the siphon feed, you can easily switch colors. You just pull it off and put another bottle on it. And I have siphon feed bottles that are sort of shaped like this, but they have the connector on the top. And those do a great job too. Man, my phone keeps going off. I want to make sure I keep seeing. Hey, Tom Green, how you doing? Outside too much? That's what was happening today, like with the yesterday with the airbrush. It was so windy, and it's still kind of windy today, but because we have a storm coming in. But yeah, it's not. Wow, I really wonder what I did on this. There's a lot of choices out there, and you don't have to go crazy. I think those master airbrushes aren't too bad on. I would imagine, though, they're probably the same as most of these from that are on Amazon that come with a full kit for like $100. You could do something like that too. I mean, they're going to have a real like small scale compressor that's actually pretty good. So it'll be similar to like what I use for my Iwata compressor. That's just a small one without a tank. Let's see if I can get this to work here. I need a mount for this phone. It's not really Tom Green, but that's what he goes by online. Let's see. Let's put these back. The Iwata is really nice though too. These are like 150 maybe or 170 at most stores. You can probably get a good deal on from some sort of a online retailer. I bought this in a store. The friction fit lids are fine. I don't know though. My problem with them is I want to get into it, and I do not like pulling it off while I'm trying to paint. So you definitely don't want to open it up until you have it super clean, you know, not a lot of paint inside, so you don't have a splash. Let's put these back. But I have a Sotar as well that is a same little plastic thing. This is a detail brush. Very small cup, so you're only doing a small amount of paint. I get the hiccups, I'm sorry. But the secret is out. Well, I didn't say your real name. Let me get a drink. Actually, I think his game, Rough Tom Green has designed a game that we played on GameNight. And so when I zenithal, Chris, I'm doing black, then gray, so black all over the place as best I can do, then gray at a 45-degree angle, and then white from the top. There are other choices, like if you were to use a brown primer, then it will do a better job, like with the skin when you have, I joke that these guys, let me show you one here, you know, kids with dirty faces or whatever, right? It's cool, and I don't care. I think they look fine. I really love it. It just depends, like the flesh tone. Loki's the one that really kind of was the kid with the dirty face. He's got like a 5 o'clock shadow. But I really like the zenithal highlighting. I think I guess they call this, I've seen videos, but I've never seen it look like mine. So they call it slap chop. Is that what? That's such a weird name. But I think that they're pretty great. I have a tackle box that I have all my airbrushes in. I need to fit that one in there though. I have not put the Iwata. I've had the Iwata for like 3 or 4 years. I don't actually have it inside that bin. Let me put this out. All these little parts. I got so much stuff. Yeah, this is the lube that came with the Iwata. They gave you 3 paints, a cleaner. I mean, it was a pretty cool kit for $150 from the hobby store that I shall not mention because Nikki does not like them. But spare parts is pretty helpful. Goodness, let me just put these over here and figure out where to put them. Oh, I know where to put them. You could go crazy and do a lot of stuff, but I just don't think it's necessarily worth it. Especially if you can get started for a pretty inexpensive price, and it can grow with your hobby. But I honestly feel if you're just priming, there's no need to spend extra money on it. You should just go with that. Boy, that is weird. I can't see that being stripped in there. How strange. It is Grex. They probably designed it to... The guy was not very nice when I was talking to him, because I had several Badgers, and he was dismissive of Badgers, which I think is silly. I don't think you should bag on anybody's gear, because it's whatever somebody can afford and what they can do, and I think Badgers are real solid. I do have this rack that I made that will hold airbrushes. I laser cut it. So when I'm working, I have them like this. It also can be used for just standard brushes as well, but it works really well for... Actually, this one does not work. It's too tight. Well, I probably could, but it's so heavy on that one. But anyway, it's a cool little thing. One of these days I might actually airbrush on the stream to show you how it is. I'm concerned about like the noise level, because I will use a spray booth. My mom a few years back got me a spray booth from Amazon that does actually a pretty great job, and I can use it indoors. We have nice weather here. Today was the first day in a very long time that I thought maybe I should do this inside, but we had a crazy day where it was clear, and then it got overcast, and it was raining and then clear. So let's see here. How many airbrushes do I have? I have a lot, Tom. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Holy cow, that's more than I even thought I had. When they were having that special, the first year I saw it on Badger's Facebook page, I decided I wanted to buy 5 different airbrushes. So I was spending like $250 plus shipping, I think, too. And I just wanted to try all the different brushes. I'm like, hey, I want to try all these new ones. I already had some more modern ones. Crescendo was basically was kind of designed as a ripoff of the Pache airbrushes. I never owned a Pache airbrush, so I don't know exactly what they do as far as how solid they are for the Zandara screen. I think I did this one recently. As far as the mechanics and all that, mechanisms and all that stuff, but I'm sure they're good airbrushes. I just have never bought one. I was always at the time when I got this as a kid, it was Badger and Pache and maybe Iwata, and there must have been more, but I didn't have access to them. Let me shake this up properly. So last stream I decided that this little bit here was going to be purple right here. And then I saw tons of Kang, because I looked it up after the stream. I'm like, oh, hey, I was wrong. So I went back and did it as it is in the picture here, because it's clearly they were inspired by the comic books for the I can show you right here, for the Big Child Creatives who did this paint job and the minis. I have never tried a pistol grip airbrush. I've thought about it. I mean, it is how I am. I'm constantly thinking, hey, should I get either... If I were going to buy one, though, I'd probably buy the Monument Hobbies one instead of the Grex one. although it might be cheaper for the Grex one. I mean, I like Monument Hobbies. I buy their stuff. Now, the reason why I'm even saying them in the same sentence is the Monument Hobbies one is made by Grex. I'm trying to get this phone so I can see everybody talking here. But I think it'd be kind of neat. I'm working in tiny space, right? Not like I'm outside doing this stuff all the time, but I'm very close, and I feel like a pistol grip would probably not be great for what I'm doing. Again, that's just speaking from, you know, just guessing about what it would be like. But I've been thinking about it. I look at the prices and I thought, well, maybe. I actually talked to Grex about like trying to get. This was before I was painting on the stream. I knew I wanted to do this stuff, and so I talked to them about potentially having like a coupon for people to buy it and get a discount from their website. And the guy was not great. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do something like that, I should talk to Badger. I can't remember the guy's name. It's been a little while since I've seen him. But he's just so much nicer. And is not dismissive of other stuff, right? Because the reality is they're all, you know, they all are decent. I mean, it's crazy how decent these inexpensive airbrushes are. I think that the pistol grip, you know, your hand is doing, it's, you know how I was showing the one, it's not out here now, the one airbrush with the, well, this one has a longer throw, taller trigger. You can move in a smaller, you know, it's a little more forgiving in your adjustment levels. The taller ones are even better. The short ones, you know, it's a very small radius, so you're going to end up pulling the trigger and maybe letting too much paint out much more easily. But I really like doing all this stuff with the airbrush. It's been so many years that I've used it. It's not, everybody's always a little afraid, but I feel if you could just, at the minimum, just, you know, you get one, you do the black, or the undercoating of white, whatever you're going to do as a basic kind of prime. You know, remember, you can totally use contrast paints and not do the zenithal highlight, just to have a light, you know, almost white undercoat. Well, I don't know if I have enough paint for this. But I think you should try the zenithal. You do not have to thin paints to work with an airbrush, especially if you're using, there are paints out there that are specifically thinned or whatever. The consistency is designed for airbrushing. But like I've never used I've airbrushed a little bit of stuff with the contrast paints. You don't need to thin them. The primer that I use from this Badger Stynel Res, it is designed for an airbrush. It works perfectly right out of the bottle, and its consistency is rock solid, right? I get great coverage generally in one coat. Wow, that's very thin. Color-wise. So I feel like you can go that route, and you don't even have to worry about getting the right consistency. The one thing that you're going to probably have to deal with is the right amount of air pressure. You know, I didn't paint his boots are entirely that pink. We did not see the movie yet, the Quantum Mania. I do want to go see it. It's a bummer because I actually meant to do it yesterday. I walked in at 4 something. I said, "Oh, Nikki, I forgot. I wanted to try to see that today," because it actually is at 4. The 3D version was only playing at 4 at the theater local, the IMAX theater nearby. We usually go to the Chinese, but the Chinese is not playing it in 3D, so I've not heard all great things, but I don't know, we'll see. I do like Paul Rudd, that's why I tend to like the Ant-Man stuff. But yeah, you can actually not have to thin paints ever for an airbrush if you want. You don't have to. It's perfectly fine. You know, like I've said, you'll go through paints quicker with an airbrush, but I've undercoated plenty of stuff and had no problem. And you know, like I said, I've undercoated at least 100 minis with the Stynel Res, and it is great. And I still have way tons of it. Games Workshop makes a large line of air paints if you want to look into them, Matthew. Yeah, they do. And so does every other brand. Vallejo makes a airbrush brand of paints. Now, definitely, if you're going to use GW Citadel paints that are standard, you have to thin those. The neat thing is if you're going to use those series, they often have the same thing in an airbrush version, so the same color. So you could you can get the matching color in another. You know, it's going to be close anyway. In another formulation, so it'll be go through your airbrush. Thinning's not that bad though. I use when I do thin, I use airbrush thinner from Vallejo, which is somewhere around here. And it works great. You know, it does a real. Here's the bottle. This is 4 ounces, 2 fluid ounces. This is one I would like to have a larger bottle of. I use this when I decant it into the dripper, the eyedropper bottles, which lately I'm unhappy with. I need to find another supplier. Looks like his undershirt is red, not this maroon. But yeah, you can thin it easily enough, and it's not too bad. It's another layer that I think that you don't really need to mess around with. The other thing I probably need to try to do again is airbrush varnish. People like to do that. I have only ever had never a bad experience as far as fogging or anything like that, or hazing. You know, we don't have the moisture that others do, so that you don't necessarily run into that issue. But the problem is for me is, I feel that I do a fine enough job just varnishing it by hand, and it does I use the AK Interactive varnishes, and they go on very flat. I don't know, it's up to anybody. I know that Reaper has an airbrush too. I can't remember. You know, I think Badger makes Reapers, if I recall. Reaper has an airbrush kit, and Chad Roberts bought one of those, and he really likes it. Nikki does some painting minis. Hey, no problem, Matthew. I think, you know, I'm trying to make the case that you should paint these minis. There's so much stuff in the in all of our games, and this one in particular, I'm gonna have 300 something miniatures, I think, for this by the time it's all said and done. And I did back the new one, so there's going to be a bunch of stuff next year around this time. And I want to be done with these so I can be ready to paint those. But you can do a nice job, and it doesn't... Boy, this is really interesting color combination. You can do a nice job with this that's quick. I mean, I generally paint a mini in a couple hours when I do this zenithal highlight stuff. I mean, I can paint in a standard style that's like trying to do what the heavy metal people, the people at Citadel Games Workshop, their paint style. I'm okay. I can do that, sort of. I can show you one here that I've done. It's the one that's sitting in front of me. I need to put some other ones up here. But I think it kind of killed my desire for painting them, because it's just a lot more work. I mean, they look cool, and it has all the, you know, this would look amazing on the table, but I don't feel it's necessary. Now, when I do some of these soon, I'm going to do them in this I'm going to probably do a hybrid system where it'll have some contrast paints and some standard acrylic paints. I just did a airbrush varnish with Vallejo satin today, and it feels odd doing it compared to hand. Looks splotchy, but dries great. I'm sure that's one of the things I think that was my fear when I did it, is like, oh my gosh, did I mess it up? And I didn't. I think you can do a great job with the, you know, it depends on what you're shooting for. I have all of these varnished with the AK Interactive dust on here. The AK Interactive matte, not ultra matte. Although I think ultra matte's great. Ultra matte though, you have to put more coats on because, so it's kind of shiny. It's a little too shiny. I might come back with this one and actually put some ultra matte on it. I don't mind it for her hair, but I think the clothes are a little too shiny. Some of the, it's weird. It depends on. I mean, she looks cool. I don't worry about it too much. Let's see, what does Shuri look like? She's not so bad. It's not too shiny. But definitely consider the airbrush path. Again, if you just want to see that you're into doing this stuff in general, you can buy, last week anyway, the base game for Marvel United was $13.10. You don't own an airbrush, interesting. In the Heritage models, no wonder you're so good at those. Tom painted some little minis for game night. He's done, it's Dave and Aaron and myself. He has like little tiny busts, and then he did these little teeny pawns that are very cute. So he's talented. I've never really sculpted. I've fixed things. I did Squirrel Girl, was broken when I received it, and I don't, you know, if I can fix it, I don't want to have them send me something. It's not that big of a deal. I'll show you in a second. Because I had that one, plus I had one of the Sentinels break in the X-Men Days of Future Past box, because it, like, just in the shipping, it like took a blow, because it's a new kind of plastic, a new formulation that is a little more rigid, which I think I would like as far as trying to clean the mold lines and stuff like that. But Squirrel Girl, I actually didn't have any, if I had a putty, epoxy putty, you know, it's 2-part, which I normally do, but I think the batch I hadn't used it in so long, it dried up. Although it lasts a long time if you just cut that middle bit out, the touches between the blue and the yellow. Anyway, so Squirrel Girl had this ear here broken. Let's see here. She had this ear broken off. And so I just cut it out of a piece of plastic, actually probably a piece of sprue from a GW sprue, and then just glued it on. It looks good. I mean, you can't really tell. It's not as nicely sculpted as this one, but you know, it's a mini on the table. You're never going to notice. And the break on this one was that its arm the arm snapped. I think it was very tightly mounted inside the, you know, set inside the case, and this arm broke off. So I pinned it. I used a very heavy paper clip, drilled it into the body, drilled into the arm, and then super glued it and had to hold it because I kept having issues, and finally got it to work because it didn't really seem to fit together really well either. It really does look like that's a red in there. So I think I'm going to put some red in there to change that tone. Weird. Looks like a different color though. So let me get a little bit of red. Green stuff, that is exactly correct. I generally don't buy a lot of it anymore. I used to have like a good foot of it or something like that or more at a time. But now I just buy the small blister pack with just, you know, like 4 inches or 6 inches, because I just don't use it enough. I have all that. I use the, I love Sugru, which is another 2-part epoxy plastic that is great, but the problem is that I never get through it fast enough. I'm like, even when I mix up a bunch between two, if I'm going to fix, like I fix our lav microphones, if you can't really see it, but there's a piece here of Sugru that helps us because they start to stretch and then ruin the wiring, you know, on these expensive lav microphones. I generally put all this paint down with a little bit of contrast medium in. I lower the intensity unless I know I want it to be that bright, because I want to build it up. It's not necessarily the way, I mean, obviously that's the way they suggest you do it, because when you buy, like, there's only one like human flesh tone, and that's called Gilliman flesh, and it's dark. I use it for everything. It's from MODOK, has that flesh color thinned out with a lot of contrast medium, and then we had Shuri a moment ago. Let's see, where's she? Same flesh tone, you know, same paint, but look how different it looks. It's so great. So I think it's really, really cool. You just need to use contrast medium. I think that's where I made I had already been buying it, but I was a little frustrated with the amount of, like, there wasn't a lighter flesh tone. And then I looked at the display at a GW store probably in late 2019 or 2020. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Really got to use this. Now, I was using it. I used it actually to lighten the color of blue on one of those figures I did with Scott, right when contrast paints came out. We'll see if I may need a couple coats to just pump that up a little bit. I'm going to need a little bit of the pink or the magenta. Still green in the brush. Let me clean the brush, because I do not want any green in the pink. So I said last time I was painting that I was not going to buy another container of the brushes, the Royal and Langnickel, and I ended up buying them on Amazon. I mean, on eBay. They had one of the sellers has these brushes, 144 of them for $25. The container got squished and broke the lid, but none of the brushes were messed up. But I realized the reason why I decided to go ahead and go for it was I'm going to try to just use. I'm just going to try to be very. I'm not going to be as frugal with the brushes, right? They only cost. I think these were 37 cents a piece in the first batch I got from eBay. I looked at Amazon and they didn't have any, and now they're at Amazon. They were $32 on Amazon. The $25 going price was $24.99. Ended up being still less than the Amazon one with free shipping, but because it was fulfilled by Amazon. But I'm just going to toss the brush, or not necessarily toss them. Hey, thanks, Matthew Rose. Thank you so much for the support. I mean, 144 brushes. Here's the tube. This is the first one I got that did not break, but it's a ton of brushes, and they all seem to be just fine. Like they do. all come to a point. I had maybe one or so that was kind of not great, but I can always use that one for something else. But that way, I think I'm always going to be happy to have a fresh brush that, I don't want the green, I need the magenta. You know, because a fresh brush, I'm always painting better. So I'm not going to buy the really expensive brushes anymore. I don't think it's worth it. Especially since I was buying these styles of brushes already that were a little more expensive. They were $250 a brush. So I don't know. I think it's not worth going too crazy on the brushes and spending too much on them when I feel I get fine results with what I'm doing here. I need one airbrush for each brush. That would be terrible, because I have 288 brushes right now, plus all the other ones I have. Actually, the cup was perfectly fine, but the bottle, it was the lid that popped off. But this is the stuff I actually bought, not these. Of course, these are the Monument Hobbies, but they come with these that I think are in here to protect the bristles. They poke out in the bundle. I could not figure out I'm like, what's the deal with these? But it was because they're in bundles of 25, but they really only need 24 to give you 144. It's 6 different sizes. But you can see lots of the little bristle protectors had fallen off. And I put some of the extra ones that I had here. I took the ones that I found inside the package, and then I think it was actually probably, because the lid was broken in half. I think it was broken before shipping because I couldn't find the other half. And they wrapped it in cardboard trying to protect it, but it was fine. I don't really care. Well, especially when you're putting this kind of... Now, if you're getting in and doing stuff that's specifically for competition, you probably need some good brushes for detail. I'm not doing that. These brushes are poking in to these details, you know, and it causes your brush to curl very quickly. So I still have the Winsor Newton Series 7s that I love, and I bought some Monument Hobbies sable brushes as well, and some Monument Hobby, the Adams, my favorite brushes. Those are all synthetic. But I found that I have no problem with these paints. I mean, with these brushes, and instead of like sitting there and trying to, I mean, I still clean them and everything, but instead of being too worried about it, I'm just going to go and, you know, go crazy and toss it, just save it for something else like dry brushing or something, instead of spending $20 for a brush or $17. I got plenty of them. Yeah, I love the series. I mean, I've used Series 7 since I did paintings, and they're great, but they cost like $17. And so I will never do them on a canvas, yes. On a miniature, bad idea. I mean, I've painted with them before, many times, but not anymore. I had some Japanese synthetics that I got a long while back. I have some of them still floating around here. Was it Silverado? I don't see them right now. Well, here's one. This one's ruined, but I mean, this one I've had forever. Silverite. I have a larger one too, but and those were great, and they were synthetic, and I was like, I kept coming back to those brushes. I'm like, you know what? Let me just get some of these other in golden Taklon, and so I bought. Amazon had a resale seller that sold these Zem ones, and these were great too. I was buying 4s and 6s, which, you know, I think the bigger brush thing was one of my first things that actually changed the way I paint, because there's a lot more paint in my brushes, so I don't have to go back to the palette as often. And so it's just there's just no reason. It really is, unless you're really getting to paint specific kind of details, and I think even then you could probably do a pretty good job. I mean, because here's the thing, you actually can do quite a bit of detail with these larger brushes because the point is very tiny and it has a lot of paint in it. You just need to roll it to get the point, you know. So yeah, now I've got 288 brushes, well 287 because this one's out. But these other ones I've barely used. I've been using this for most of the time. And I've been using this for a while now. It's actually done a better job than the more expensive Golden Taklons that I had. Now it's starting to get a hook, but you need to just rotate the brush, you know, so that you don't reduce the likelihood that you're going to get that hook going so soon. But yeah, I have the Series 7 over here. Got like 5 tubes of them. Mostly smaller ones. I would probably buy, and as I say, I think that was a double aught. Is that right? Maybe. So that's actually probably true. I mean, it was prior to me actually going to larger brushes. That was the last time I bought some Winsor Newtons, and I think I bought them from Dick Blick. So that wasn't that long ago, but I had bought brushes from, I used to buy brushes from a place here in the valley called, San Fernando Valley, called Continental. They were great because they actually had stock and you could look at them all, and they closed. I think they closed in 2017 or so, or 18, which is a terrible deal because they were wonderful. They were great for papers. Nikki and I loved going there to look at papers. And I really miss them. I don't know where you would order paper now, like really great, interesting vellums and stuff like that. Yeah, this is very big. Let me show you a 28 millimeter mini next to it, right? So look at the face, you know, I mean, that's why I'm just having fun painting these because they're not too hard to do, but I love these too. I mean, I have, well, and you saw the Space Marine. Now this is an older Space Marine, because now they have the Primaris. But yeah, it's, you know, that's the super deformed chibis. I love them though. I think they're fun. And, you know, I think you could probably get in on the, if you want to get some of the stuff from the Kickstarter. They're not doing any of the boxes from the previous campaigns, except for one. They did one Spider-Man one maybe, or something like that. Sinister Six or something. I don't know why. And they also have another one coming in June. I think I know it's gonna go directly to retail, so it will. It'll be a bunch of Spider-Man stuff to be, I think, in time with the Spider-Man movie the animated movie that's coming out this summer that I'm excited to go see. I really liked the first one. I'm not super crazy about Spider-Man. I mean, I like most of the movies and everything that they've done. I just never read any of the comics when I was younger. Thanks so much, Brent. I love to paint. I don't often take the opportunity to do it. That's why I started to do just because I had all of this stuff. I was painting with Scott, and Scott used to paint minis, but he stopped. And so when I painted that Space Marine Terminator I showed you, this is from Space Hulk. I painted these, and then Scott was saying he would love to have a full painted set for the BGG library. So I just gave him the first set, and then he gave me a new set. I did not finish these, so I have only like 3 of them sort of done. And but then he got into Marvel United, and you know, I'm like, you really should paint them. They're not that hard. I understood I knew what zenithal highlighting was, and I had painted some standard style painting that way, but not like this, where I had that transparent of paints. So when the contrast paints were introduced, I was in Dallas, and I went and bought these minis, which I did finish them pretty much. These minis, and I painted. This is the first one I painted with contrast paints. This is the very first thing I painted with contrast paints, and I was smitten because I was like, this turned out really well, and I did it in less than an hour. I did spend more time on the sword. I did that when I got home, I think, because I was trying to do like a non-metallic metal kind of a thing going on with it. And so I love to do it, and then I just realized that so many people don't paint their minis. You know, they just don't do it, and you really should. It's not that hard. You can get decent results. I mean, and these will be fine. This is going to be fun. And then you know, people love to play with them. I mean, we did, as I said, I did the Flamecraft ones, the dragons in that. Those do not come with it. They're in the Kickstarter. You can easily buy them. I think they're $20 maybe to buy them in stores, because they're in stores all over the place, or at least they were. And you might even be able to buy them from their website or something. Oh man. It's worth, you know, it's worth it. Everybody, when we did it on the show, we did Flamecraft a couple weeks back, everybody was so excited for the painted minis, because they turned out really, really well. And literally, I painted 2 of them in just over 2 hours, and then I painted the other 4, because there's 6 in the kit. There's another one, a pink dragon, that you can get. I'm not sure you can buy it separately. The publisher was kind enough. Brad lives near us here in the valley, and so he brought the stuff over and gave me that one. I didn't paint it for the show, because I generally don't like to do something that's like a promo that you can't get easily, because we did that in the beginning of GameNight, and just people still bother us about some of literally the first episode, they bother us about stuff that was in King of Tokyo. I used the bar. Gosh, what was that one called? It's basically Heidelbar. I think we used 2 in that episode. It was so foolish, because everybody just is always like, "Where do you get that? Can I get that?" And we literally just got it. Maybe I think BGG store had them at the time, but you know, they don't make them anymore. One of the ones came back with like the Dark Edition. I am out of pink, magenta. Wow, 100+ orc models, fantastic though. See, I think you can do great work with them. And you know, I initially was trying to do everything with contrast paints, and I caved when I did Thanos, because I just wasn't happy with the gold that I was getting, and I'm not the greatest non-metallic metal person. I'm okay. And so I just caved and painted it gold. I still look at that one and I'm sad because it's not fantastic, but it's pretty good. And I have some ideas for I'm going to try a metallic undercoat, and then do the stuff over it and see what I get one of these times here. I think I'm going to try to do that with Iron Man. So maybe a silver undercoat. I do have, as I said, I have those. I'll use that as the white. I might even use this, the metallic medium, because this is very bright, almost white metallic. Goodness. Doomfire magenta. But yeah, you can do some great stuff. And quickly. That's the real trick. Like I have I'm going to have like 300 minis with this, I think, nearly 300 minis with the Marvel United. Plus, I mean, I've already got another box of the main set because I want to do a Grey Hulk. I don't even know who Grey Hulk is, sort of. I heard that that was the original way it was supposed to be, and they made a printing mistake. You know, I want to get through them all. I want to get through them before I pass away. I just feel they're going to be forever. But especially if I do them the straight way, what happened was I saw we bought Atom Smasher, the base game, into early 2020 or late 2020, to do a paint stream for us during one of our virtual cons. And he did the Hulk and maybe the Red Skull. I can't remember. Those are the first two I've painted, I think. Maybe the first two. Definitely the Hulk was the first one. And I was like, oh, I get it. I mean, I totally knew. I'd already like thought about doing the Zenithal painting, but that's kind of like the way he does stuff now. A lot of stuff. And so the Zenithal painting with the contrast paints. So I just was determined. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I know it'll be quick because I was so happy with the Warhammer Underworlds figure that I did in such a short time. And the rest, I did all 5 of them, I think, in a relatively quick time. And so I was bound and determined to go that route, and I've been ecstatic with it. It turns out great. It looks, you know, they look fun. They look super nice on the table. And I've got 60-some of them painted now, right, you know, already. So I don't have to go crazy going the traditional method. Now, obviously, if you paint the traditional method, you can get fast if you just paint a lot. I'm just not that guy. I am slow. Not terribly slow, but I'm slow. It's too slow to go through 300 minis. And, you know, that's one reason why I'm not playing, I have lots of Warhammer and Warhammer 40K stuff, but I've been mostly doing stuff for Warhammer Underworlds. I haven't done any Kill Team, although I would like to try to do some Kill Team stuff. I'd like to play Kill Team. Smaller, more manageable groups of figures. Full armies, you know, like Chris was saying, or Brent was saying, doing all the orc models, 100 plus. I mean, you know, he's going to have an amazing army, and he obviously likes playing the large armies, but it's so much more manageable, and, you know, for folks that just don't quite get it, you can just start with those. And the great thing is, of course, they're minis that can be used in Warhammer Underworlds. Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I can never remember the new name. Because they're the same ones. I mean, often they are the minis. So I painted these recently for Warhammer Quest Lost Relics. And so this was a hybrid. I was doing standard gold metallics, and then the dust is bad. And then the contrast paints for the cape. And, you know, these were done pretty quickly. And they look really nice. They'll be great on the table. So, and you can use these in Warhammer Underworlds as well. I mean, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Right in the water. Thank goodness that was distilled water. There you go. There's a mini that's been dunked in the water. Let's see how that goes. It literally went face first. But it's been varnished, so we'll see how it does here. But that's hilarious. That is not a good spot for that cup, because I've dropped a camera battery in there and yanked it out real fast and dried it, and it was okay. But yeah, I mean, these look cool, and they're very, very low amount of. Isn't that great? The capes are amazing because I basically do a coat and a half, because I'll do the wash, you know, the contrast paint on it, and then you can see right here there was a pool of blue. You can see the shape of it. You know, this is the problem with contrast paints, and I just didn't manage it well when I put it on. But I just used a thinned out, even more thinned out version of the blue, and just integrated it. And you'll never see it, right? Unless somebody's really looking at it, which is cool too. I'm not embarrassed. Wow, that is really wet. But yeah, they turn out really nice, and that's very, you know, I did do slightly different stuff. I used some of the, I actually used strong tone for the, to go over the gold, and then I went back over it. So I painted the gold, then I put the strong tone on, then I went back over it with more gold to brighten it up, and then I used even a lighter gray on the, gold, excuse me, on the edges. And just to make it look, you know, they really look great. It's such a strong looking, I have definitely an obsession with that gold. Ever since my first 40K, this is some of my earliest figures I painted. Not the same, you know, I mean, I didn't have the skills. I mean, I actually painted stuff, but I was trying to do lots, right? And now if I were to do it, well, number one, I'd probably do it contrast, or at least zenithal, and then do more brush highlighting. And I still could do that, you know, I mean, I did a pretty great job. This is probably one of my earliest gems I've ever painted. And it turned out pretty good. But yeah, that one's one of the earliest. That was my first army. And I also worked on, I actually did more of Nikki's army. I painted her, because we got in 3rd edition, and nobody wanted the Dark Eldar, but Nikki's like, oh, I want those. So I painted a bunch of those for her, and I think she played the game twice. And then I painted a lot of a Necron army when that was introduced, the Necron or Necron, when they were introduced. I bought the army box that they used to put, I can't remember, I think those are like, I feel like those were like $125 or something like that, $120 back then. But they gave you quite a bit of stuff. I also got into the Black Templar, but I only painted some of those because those were 3rd edition, that was the other army. And then it's smart. I wish, so I actually have old minis that I painted as a kid. My parents gave me Revell kits, so like World War II figures, and I think I painted like some German, I mean, I followed the guide, you know, I didn't have the historical stuff. I didn't obviously have the internet then. So I painted them, and I painted them with oils. And I actually recall, I need to look at it, I need to track it down. They're in here somewhere. But I did a very good job, I felt, on them for a kid that was probably 10 or 12, maybe. And those are pre-airbrush. I think the airbrush was the next Christmas. Well, he looks pretty good. I got to do the black lines on his face. Yeah, you definitely did the timing was right for it. I know so many people that finished their armies during the pandemic. It was pretty great. I didn't paint nearly as much as I should have. We got wrapped up in live streaming at that point in time. We were already live streaming, but we were going to do, many people that watch us know that we were going to do Clank Legacy. We played the episode on the show with Dave and Deborah, and then we were going to start literally the first week of lockdown here in California. And I had just traveled a bunch that I was nervous about having people over. And Dave actually went north to take care of his parents. So, like, even before I got back from Gamma Trade Show. So, you know, we didn't know what was going on, and we couldn't have, I didn't want to get people sick. I didn't even see my mom for a little while too, because I just was, till you know, we didn't know what was going on. And I really didn't want to get her sick. So, so we were supposed to stream that Thursday, and we just started streaming. I think we might have even streamed before that, because we didn't know what, maybe the following week, because we didn't know what else to do. And so that became our regular thing. And we were streaming twice a week board game play, and that just became a little hard for us, just too much to, you know, like keep learning new games. And Nikki was very good about it. And she tried to, you know, she wants to just get better at teaching rules, so teaching games. So she has taken that under her. I could do it. but my problem is I can't run the show, run the controls and stuff. Even though with Derek doing it, I still am monitoring stuff here. And I have taught stuff on, like Game Night, Date Night, we would take turns and go back and forth and stuff like that. We're coming back with that. Nikki's working on the intros, so we kind of can't go quite yet. Now we stream all the time. So now I decided to take up the painting on the alternating week. So it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and if we stream painting on Tuesday, then we're gonna play a game on Thursday evening, and then if we play a game on a Tuesday morning, I'm gonna be streaming like today, Thursday evening with the paint stream. So this looks cool. I think he's gonna be neat with his face. Dark. It does not quite look the same as he does in their 3D printed mini. So I will probably do the thing I always say I should do, which is varnish his face before I put those black details on. Because if I varnish his face, then I can fix my mistakes, because it tends to dry very quickly on the if it's on paint. Like the contrast paints, it's dry here, particularly right now. I mean, it's always, we have issues. I've always used like stuff to flow improver and retarder for paints to get them to dry slower. We've had to do that just because it dries so quickly here. And thankfully the contrast paints last a little bit long. You know, they're a little slower to dry, but they're still pretty darn quick once it starts to set. I don't have to wait too long. Adam was, when I was doing stuff, he's like, well, you really should wait longer before you paint after priming. I'm like, I don't have to. It cures pretty well here. As I said, I painted, this is one I had done already, but the other ones down below here, I painted them the day before yesterday, and I only did one that day because I used the new airbrush. And then I did the rest of them yesterday, and then a little bit today because I was fixing Rhino. Scott has even more games with minis, right? So I really would like him to get into it. We used to, during the pandemic in 2021, we used to paint together. There are actually, so everything that we have, there's many other streams that we did that we didn't save, but they're all going on a new, because you know, Twitch, they basically stick around for 2 months. So there's a new playlist called GameNight, PaintNight, and I started with the first one one of the first ones that we had saved, of Scott and I, and it might have been one of the first one that we did, but you know, like I wanted to save. I actually need to put the Jurassic World stuff in there. I might not have uploaded those though. So now everything's, we're streaming on YouTube at the same time, so this will immediately go on the page and be live when I'm done, and I will just add it to that playlist. You know, there's like getting 2,500, 3,000 views maximum right now. It's not like it's super exciting, but I'm hoping to encourage people to paint minis. I think it's not that hard. You get really astounding results in a short time, and it's relatively inexpensive. You don't have to buy an airbrush. You don't have to do spray cans. You can literally just do it with a paintbrush and paint the whole thing black. If you're going to do this method, which I think is a great way to go. I need to pull out the Jurassic World one that I did, the dry brush zenithal highlighting. It turned out well. I'll tell you, Brent, you can get just you can get the main box for it was $13.10 the other day, and you get 10 minis. I've been saying 9 minis, but it's actually 10 minis. and they're fun. I really love them. I mean, I don't have those out, I don't think, the first 10. But, you know, I've been going crazy. I did paint, so I have the box of, this one's a little too dark, but this is from the X-Men box, which is around $25 to $30, I think. But he turned out pretty good. It's a little dark, not enough highlighting on the sides. My friend Brian was asking me if I was going to repaint the older ones. I'm like, no, it's okay. They look cool. I mean, here's a recent one. This was Kingpin. And this one I literally just airbrushed it to do the priming and then left the bulk of it. You know, I mean, I did the pinstriping. And, you know, again, that's that same flesh tone, the Gilliman flesh. And then I varnished it. I absolutely should have varnished it before I did the pinstriping. I spent too much time, like, cleaning myself up and then patching things, which you can do. It's not that hard. But you don't want to, you know, if you varnish it, it'll protect you, and you can make the mistakes and not worry about it too much. But yeah, they're nice. I mean, and as I say, the new ones are a different formulation of plastic. I mean, this is gigantic, right? I went crazy on the face because it was so big I couldn't resist doing it. But they look real nice. And this was one of the ones that was in the stretch goals box. You can buy them in the Kickstarter. It's over, but they're going to have the late when they open up the Pledge Manager. I'm sure you can get in. And they had the first 2 boxes of the stretch goals, $120 a piece, I think. $120 a piece, and maybe $110 if you bought both of them. So $110 each. I really like all the minis in there. I mean, that was Kingpin. This is Kang was one of the stretch goal minis. So I would say, if you're really into it, you don't necessarily need it. I think you can get by. It is a little overboard. And I was bound and determined not to do it again, and I just went for it, of course. I just want them to do a Star Wars one. That's what I really want. The Spin Master, the Simon's partner on these, has Star Wars licenses. Oh yeah, I was very lucky. GW reached out about us doing some games on the show, and they gave me I told them I've been painting the minis. I said I'll paint them on the show for that. That's what those Warhammer Quest Lost Relics are. And so they sent me all of the colors of the recent new ones, which was because I don't even have all of the first set. I have most of them, but yeah, the yellows are actually really good, because the yellows are. I mean, this is a good yellow, but it's really an orange. Like when you use the contrast medium, this stuff to thin it out, you get a pretty good yellow. But they finally have a real orange. You know, there's a lot. I probably still should buy the first. I think I'm missing about 9 or 10 of them of the first go. I should just get them, even though I've used the ultramarine, which I did not like initially, but I used contrast medium on it, and it turned out great. So. But yeah, they were nice enough to send all that, and we will be doing Lost Relics on the show, hopefully sooner rather than later, because I would love to do it. I have a lot of Warhammer Underworlds, Warhammer Quest. I got many of those sets, because again, that's a limited range of miniatures. Now, of course, Blackstone Fortress had so much stuff, and it took everything I had to not buy into that. Scott did. I think he got everything except for like one, and he's bummed about that one. But I just couldn't do it. I'm like, I don't need all that, because I'm not going to get through these. You know what I mean? I have to paint all this stuff. Although our friends Sebastian and Annie came in, Sebastian a few years back now, And he told me I should sell all that. Like, it's all worth so much money, all the old stuff I have. Although I have War Master. Chad Roberts was in saying that they're coming back with War Master, which I don't know if it's it probably is a Forge World thing. I don't know. But I played War Master a couple times back in the day and then bought stuff and then never opened any of it up, really. Maybe to look at it, see if everything's okay. And that was it. So yeah, they gave me all the paints and all of the new shades. So it's cool. I mean, because I would have just waited. I mean, that was basically, I bought colors that I needed and colors that I looked at reviews, and people were not 100% satisfied with all that. Those paints initially, but some of the ones that people don't like are the ones I like, so I really should just get them. But yeah, we generally don't take stuff, games and things like that, but I was like, sure, I'd like to try some of the Warhammer stuff, because these are part of those ones like that they sell at Barnes & Noble and places like that. And I thought a small Warhammer quest would be cool, and they sent us the other two that came out at the same time. Not Blood Bowl, Blitz Bowl, and the new version of the arena, the Space Marines Battle Arena thingy. I can't remember the name of it. But the one that seemed fun to me, I mean, we might do them all, but the one that seemed fun to me was the Warhammer quest, because I think it'd be good to have a playthrough of that. Although I always say about the new colors, I mean, the ball red I was using earlier, that's a single pigment color. So it's not a real contrast paint, but it's still pretty great. Yeah, the Bad Moon is fantastic. Super bright. I don't think that they're bad. I just used earlier, I used the Nuln Oil. This is the new version of the Nuln Oil on this gun here, and it turned out pretty good on War Machine. And I was like, okay. I mean, it doesn't really stick out from the rest of the stuff, because I just was I wanted it to be not raw, undercoated, but I think it looks good. And I've used them. I mean, I'm more of a strong tone. I mean, I'm a quick shade person, although I have all of the stuff. I have Agrix. I have the big bottles. When I heard they were killing the line, the old ones, I bought all the big ones in, the large bottles of the stuff. I'd already bought some of them, but I bought whatever else I could find, because I actually do like them as they are, but I think the new ones are perfectly fine. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. Wait, I really need to shake this. That is Kang, Scott, that I'm working on. Sort of lost his drive to paint. He's watching. Hooray, I hope you're feeling okay, Scott. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm painting Kang. He's turning out pretty cool. So I had painted this entirely magenta as well, right here. And because I'm like, oh, that can't be right. It looks like it, but then I looked at a bunch of pictures. So I came back in with a little bit of gray and just coated the pink up, and then did a little bit of shading, although I don't feel like it really showed up, where it's lighter in the middle. But then I just painted over it, and you can't even tell. I mean, to me, that's how great these paints are. They're actually pretty flexible. Scott might have already painted King. He was way ahead of me. I mean, he probably is still way ahead of me. I've got nearly 60-something painted, but he's just quicker. And they're expensive. The GW colors are expensive, but they last. I've said this many times. They last me a long time. I've painted at least 60 minis, and I use a lot of colors a lot. The one color I used probably the most, because it was the only yellow, was that Iandin yellow. And I spilled one bottle of it. So I went through the half that I had left and had to buy a new batch of it. I think that it's, you know, they're worth it in the long run. I feel they last longer because you're not thinning them, and they're bigger bottles of it. They last longer than standard paints. Like I have a bottle of the Gray Seer, I think it is, that, you know, it's a base color, but I've gone through it much quicker than most of my paints. But yeah, Scott has all the same stuff I have with the Marvel United. Plus, he's just got so many other games that have minis, you know. Focus. Boy, I got blue paint everywhere. So I may try to do an airbrush thing. They're singing on this song. Most of this stuff is done by Swedish musicians, because this is Epidemic Sound, and they're based in Sweden. Scott also bought the like a illustrated reference guide of Marvel characters, which is probably, I've been talking about getting it. I need to buy it because it probably be good just to have the reference. I should look at like what probably more modern comic version of some of these characters are, just so that I would not make the mistake I made, even though it doesn't matter. Take care, Mark. It was good to have you here. Again, I think you can do these however you want. It's just that they are, you know, they're not really that intricate a color that you would have as the way that they're illustrated, you know, because they're comics. So, and, you know, I want them to resemble the character. I have made my own choices many times. Like, oh, I don't, like Gamora, I wanted her to have red hair because of, I think she had green hair in the model that they did. But in like Endgame or whatever it is, she had red hair. I'm like, I like the red hair. So I just did it that way. I was also afraid of the white. I don't really like doing white, particularly with contrast. But you know, the method I did on Kingpin, where I just went with the airbrushed part as the white, and then just augmented it a little bit. I went in with the cracks and made it with a little bit darker paint. Well, a lot darker paint. Might have used Basilicanum Gray, which is one of my favorite colors. You know, it's just a gray, but I really like it. I use it all over the place. Imagine how dark this would be if I had not thinned it. So sometimes what I do, and I probably should have done that on this, is I will underpaint some highlights, you know, on the undercoating. I'll do some edge highlighting and stuff like that on these and then paint the blue over it. I did that for, like, I'll show you, I think I pulled one of those minis out. Well, I did that here on Jane, or is it Jane Gray? But so, you know, I just, it looks nicer that way, and with the bright pop outs. Let's see, I have, here's Gamora. And then it was a little bit more subtle, but I did the same thing and then put the color on it. It's a good way to go. And I probably, man, I don't know if that's been varnished. I don't think it has. But it's a good way to do it, and it's a quick highlight. What time is it? 7:45. Ish. Oh, 7:44. Okay. So what I might do, especially since it's higher up, I might come in and airbrush a little bit of the blue to just give it, because they have like a, it's just, you know, I can't do it. I did an okay job on MODOK, where I was trying to make it, you know, intense, but it's almost just orange on the bottom, even though I had like tried to make it. I could come back and do some more on it. He's not done yet anyway. I got to paint the edge of the base. But yeah, I can just slightly airbrush underneath here on the edge to give it, because it's like it's some sort of glow. And that's one of the things they do on these, which is great. I'm just not patient enough, but they do a lot of like blue, like a blue OSL kind of thing going on, and it would look really nice, but I don't know, it's not necessarily worth it in my opinion. But they look nice. I really like the big, I'll show you the one right here. Did I unplug that? I guess I did. So yeah, see there's blue OSL there on the, and that's cool. I mean, you could do all that. See, it's all up here too. The more you feel, especially if you don't go crazy and buy everything, you can do all of that and not worry about it. You know, you just keep getting better. I mean, I definitely can paint okay on standard style, but I've gotten better with my understanding of all this stuff with the contrast paints. That's cool. Hey, thanks Hakaleo2. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate your support. Painting Marvel United today. Getting close. On Kang here. So I finished Quicksilver as far as, I don't think I varnished him though. So let's try, boy, sure does kind of look like I did, but this doesn't really look like it on the edge. So let's do that for the end of the day here. Got blue all over my fingers though. So let me clean the brush. Should probably use not as nice a brush for varnishing. Not that this is a nice brush, but one that's a little bit more beat up. Okay, let's try the matte and see how it goes. I may actually do kind of a mix between the ultra matte and the matte, because I think the ultra matte is extremely matte. I did that for the Red Skull, which I can't show you him, but I wanted the fabric to be dark. You know, to be very matte. I didn't feel they should have a sheen. And it really is great. That Ultramat is so cool. But I didn't clean out this palette the last time I painted varnish. I definitely don't put varnish on the wet palette. Hey, 14 bucks. Awesome. It is very great, Brent. And hopefully you'll get into it. I mean, I think it's a light game, but it's fun. And I feel the theme, just as it feels, I mean, we had a great time when we did the base game on the show. And Scott and I, we played it a bunch. We played it on our live streams and stuff. I think the game's just, it's great. And the minis are just phenomenal. I'm now addicted to the chibis. I have, I think I just got blue everywhere. I have the Starcadia Quest too. Scott had a full set of that, which can't put all of it in the library. So I'm like, he's like, it's chibis. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But that's such a great price, you know, for that game, and it's fun. I mean, it really is fun, and it's not. I mean, you know, obviously the minis are overkill. You don't need that in the game, but it just makes the game that more fun. And I really like the design on them. The Big Child is really good. You can get all the, if you want to paint them like they are, if you're like me, they have all the photos on their Kickstarter. They did not show the backsides on the first one, which was kind of a bummer. The first campaign, you know, not that it's a big deal, but I just basically went with whatever I thought was going on. The new ones, actually, both the X-Men campaign and the Multiverse campaign showed both sides of the minis on every one of them, which is just helpful. Big Child also has a Facebook page with lots of other photos of the stuff that they were doing. I should start looking again because it's now, the campaign's over. Like they weren't going to reveal anything on their page. Even if I had varnished them once already, it's a pretty good idea to varnish them twice. Contrast paints are thin, and they will, they could, you know, just handling them could take the paint off. You got to be cautious about it, but yeah, I really wish they'd do a Star Wars one. That would be so great. Although the villains would always just be, well, not necessarily, but be a lot of stormtroopers and stuff like that, so. I actually can't wait for the Spider-Man one because I had a really fun time painting the Spider-Man minis that have been in the set so far. I really actually liked them because I was doing all the webbing, you know, painting all that with the contrast paints, and it's a little bit more of a challenge, but I had a great time. It actually was a lot of my evolution and my learning how to use these paints was on those minis. Plus I had fun with what is it called? Mysterio. Because I knew, you know, it's going to be brushstrokey on the globe, and since it's very cloudy in there, I just thought, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. I have not painted any of the minis that have flames, or they have like a translucent plastic pieces. The second series and the new stuff have it, and I would like to figure some of those out, like what I want to do with that. I think I'm going to use some of the shades and maybe some of the thinned down contrast paints to do it, because I just want to leave them translucent, but I want to add some color variation to it. So, okay, so I still need to paint the base, but I will save that till it's dry because I'm gonna have to hold it with his head. Okay, so the one I said I didn't do was, I really feel like I did this. Maybe I didn't do the base. That is probably what happened, is I finished the body, although again, can't hurt to do another coat. So I used some of the technical paints, I think, that have the corrosion and stuff on this one, on this beam. I thought that would be cool. And this is one that was, you know, I dreaded because her outfit is white. And I went, I just went with it. I actually did use the Apothecary White on it, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's fine. I did buy some of the transparent paints that Monument has, and they have a transparent white. So I just want to see what that looks like. I haven't used it yet. They didn't sell a lot of the, they didn't actually add much of the existing Marvel United sets because they're becoming available now in retail, and so they didn't want to stomp all over that, I guess, probably because it's Spin Master that's selling that stuff. I thought Spin Master was only going to do the base, but I'm kind of excited that they're selling some of the other stuff because they've had some decent prices on those sets. I think the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet one was not $15, but it was around $20 at one point. I do use the heavy-bodied acrylics. I use Pro Acryl. This has been my favorite white so far. I use that's the bright gray. Here we go. The bright titanium white. It's my favorite white. I've always heard that Vallejo was good. I have Vallejo and I was never satisfied with it. And I try not to use it too much because I don't want, I want to try to do all this stuff as much contrast as possible. But as I said, I gave up on the metallics. I mean, right away I had done Ultron with silver. I tried to do a little kind of a wash version of a metallic on that one, and it's okay. But again, you really should just do what's easy to do the, obviously Brent, you know what you're doing, but you know, you shouldn't, you want to get them done. And then, you know, as your skill increases, you can do, I mean, I was very happy with her face here, for example. You know, I did multiple versions of the shade to give like the rings around her eyes a different color, slightly lighter green. I had recently done already, I was very excited to do her skin green because I did the Green Goblin and I did his face, and I was really excited how this turned out. Now, hers isn't as extreme. He's supposedly got like this, the boost of the, you know, it's not really how the light from the thrusters are on his hoverboard, but I was very excited how that turned out. And I'm like, you know, that was an early one. I think I did the Spider-Man stuff pretty early. But it was like, I learned a lot when doing those. Like how to manage the paints and actually do more standard painterly style stuff. That is the Call My Mom's alarm. I will do that in a bit. But I don't use acrylics to, I don't use standard white to lighten the colors. I only use the contrast medium. And I actually don't, I mean, I painted like, I did Shuri's markings on her face with regular white. There was just no way I could do it otherwise, but, and I did the piping on her outfit with a standard white. But generally I'm trying to do as much as possible with just the contrast paints. You know, it's this silly thing that I just was like, you could do this and you can not, you know, it won't be that hard and you can use the colors. I mean, I've had to mix plenty of colors. Like I'm pretty certain this red for her hair is not a straight, one of the straight initial reds, which at the time, the only ones I had were Blood Angel Red and the Flesh Terror, is it Flesh Terrors Red? Yeah, which are both great colors. I think this is actually the Flesh Terror, but maybe with some Blood Angels in it. Okay. Let's see how Quicksilver's doing here. Well, you can see how smooth it, I mean, it looks like I'm blobbing it on there, but it dries very smooth. It self-levels very, very well. I really like their varnish. I should try MIG. What is their stuff called? MIG. A bunch of, you know, it's a bunch of Spanish companies that are doing some great stuff. MIG Ammo or Ammo MIG. Jimenez. They're folks that were at AK Interactive. Wow, I've just got paints all over the place. I don't know what that's from. I'm getting sloppy. Well, I mean, that's the nature of painting. It is definitely, you could be making a mess. Well, cool. Let me switch back to the main cam. I got to first be in that part of the call. Okay, well, there you go. I'll be back on Tuesday to finish up with I'll probably finish Kang. I might even have him. I'm hoping to paint this weekend. We're not filming this weekend, and I'm excited to try to paint them. He looks pretty good though, and he's bright, which is cool. I mean, I feel like the earlier ones were a little dark, and that's fine. You know, I mean, they're not, again, you know, that he was a little dark, but I figured out some stuff on him, and you know, you'll learn. That is a matte Gare Harold. I only use the two colors, I never use satin. I never use shiny for sure, but satin is too shiny for me. So I use the matte varnish and the ultra matte varnish. No problem, Brent. I'm glad that you bought a Marvel United. I hope you have fun with it. It's not a deep game. It's just a fun cooperative game that is really solid. Wow, thanks, Kid Cuervo. Thanks so much. Let's see who we have here that we can raid. I don't know who's. Ooh, I just went to the. Was it actually going? So let's go to that. I thought I had that up here. Maybe that one. You have to have the dashboard up. There we go. Let's see who we got. Well, we got Bonds, Defube. Let's go to Defube. We always go to Bonds. She's awesome. GeoGuessr, I don't know what that is. So we're going to go to Defube. They're playing games. If you want to join in, just go ahead and join them. I don't know what they're playing, but go ahead and join it and say hello for me. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I'll be here next Saturday not next Saturday, next Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then I won't be back on a Friday till 2 weeks from today. Anyway, take care, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the support, and thanks for chatting with me. That was really awesome. Have a great evening.